My name is Rachel. I'm in a band called Ghoul Talk, and this is one of my paranormal experiences. So, when I was a kid, my family moved around a lot, and my dad had a job where he would be put on temporary assignment in other countries for a few years at a time. So, essentially, how the process would work is he would be assigned somewhere, move out there, start working, and look for a place for us to rent as a family. And once he found a place, that's when my mom, my sister, and I would move out to be with him. So usually my dad was the only person to see each house before we actually moved in to live there. So when I was 3, my dad was assigned to England. And he moved out there, started working, looking for a place for us to live, and he found a place that he really liked that fit everything he and my mom had been looking for. But the realtor was very upfront with him, and she said, I think it's a great property, but you should know that the former tenants believe that it's haunted. And they say that they had some paranormal experiences living in the house. So my dad did not believe in ghosts at the time, but he knew that my mom did. And he didn't want to pass up on what was otherwise a perfect property. So he did what every dad in a horror movie does, and he said, we'll take it. And he signed a lease. And he did not tell the rest of us that it was haunted. I was very young, so I don't remember the move itself, but a lot of my first memories are in and of that property. And it was a huge property that had multiple units. So my family had the top floors of one of the buildings, and there was a separate unit down below us where another tenant had lived for quite some time. So my mom says to this day that she suspected it was haunted the moment she walked into the house. She said it was just a feeling that she got, but she thought maybe she was being paranoid, and she didn't say anything to us at the time. She said that as the weeks went on, she started to experience more and more strange things living there. She said she would hear footsteps coming from the floor above her bedroom, which was the attic, where nobody should have been. But it sounded like somebody walking around with really heavy boots on every day. But I think the most notable thing that we experienced was the sound of the clock. There was this incredibly loud chime of a grandfather clock that you could hear throughout the house. No matter what room you were in, you could hear this clock. And it wouldn't chime on any sort of pattern that we could figure out, but we would hear it from day to day. And the strange thing was, my mom could hear the clock, my sister could hear the clock, I could hear the clock, but my dad never heard this clock, not a single time. Even if we were in the same room with him and we all heard it, he never heard the clock chime. And we looked through the whole house for this clock, and we couldn't find a physical clock or figure out where it was coming from. But we went on to have friends and family come and visit us and stay in the house for several weeks at a time. And this pattern emerged that only women could hear the sound of this clock chime. We would have male relatives come and visit us and stay in the house for long periods, and not a single one of them could hear it. Not one time throughout their entire stay. And so it was very strange. But back to when we first moved in, the way my mom tells the story is that after a couple weeks of living there, she approached my dad and she said, "You're going to think I'm crazy, but I think this place is haunted." And my dad's reaction was, "Who told you? How did you find out?" So naturally, my mom was upset that he had kept this from her, that the realtor had told him the house was allegedly haunted. But she was also very worried about continuing to live there because my dad still traveled for weeks at a time for his job. So it was often the case that she was alone in this house with my sister and I. And she decided to go to the downstairs tenant who lived below us and talk to him to see if there was anything that he knew about the ghost or about what other people might have experienced. And sure enough, he says, "Yes, I've heard about the ghost. The people who used to live here actually told me that they saw it at one point in time. They described seeing a girl or a woman in a Victorian dress walking down the stairs." He did say that they had said that they felt like it was a kind spirit or a harmless spirit, and they'd never had any sort of negative experience with it. But he did ask us, "Hey, any chance that you or your girls have heard the sound of a clock?" So at this point, we started to piece together what was going on, or at least what we thought was going on. And he told us that the former residents had done some research into the history of the property. And they had told him that at one point in time, it had been an all-girls school. And one of the girls had unfortunately passed away on the property. So it started to make sense to us why only women were hearing this sound of a clock, or maybe it was the sound of a bell. But it did give my mom some peace of mind to know that nobody had had any negative experiences living in the house, because we did have to go on and continue to live there until the lease was up. I think my mom had the most paranormal experiences of anybody living in the house, and she actually said that she thinks she saw the ghost at one point in time. She said she didn't see a girl in a Victorian dress, but she saw what looked like a floating, swirling orb of energy. She said she saw it floating down the hallway and going into one of the upstairs bedrooms, which happened to be my sister's bedroom, which my sister wasn't very happy about. But my mom believed that just from living in the house that the ghost's favorite room was my sister's room. That was the only experience where my mom said she saw the ghost. I never saw the ghost, and my sister didn't either. But I very much believed that the ghost was there. And I was not afraid of it because of a very specific incident that happened to my sister. So this was the late 90s in the UK, and my sister and I were obsessed with the Spice Girls. I was obsessed with Baby Spice. My sister was obsessed with Ginger Spice. And I texted my mom to have her describe this to me in specific detail just to make sure I'm getting it right. But my mom says that the grocery store was selling these packets of chips that were bundled together in this variety pack. And each chip had a different Spice Girls autograph glued to it. So the idea was that you buy this big pack of chips and you collect all the different Spice Girls autographs. And so my mom had bought a few of them, and my sister had not been able to find the Ginger Spice autograph that she really wanted so badly. So my mom buys another one of these chip packs, hoping this is finally the one that will have the Ginger Spice autograph. And she puts it away in the cupboard. And one morning we come downstairs, and the chip bags are on the counter, and they're unsealed from the variety pack that they were in. So it's just a pile of the individual chip bags. And next to the chip bags are two unfolded autographs on the counter, both of them Ginger Spice. To this day, you cannot convince anybody in my family that the ghost did not hook my sister up with that Ginger Spice autograph. I really feel that at this point in time, it's been so long that if it were my mom or my sister or my dad, somebody would have come clean by now. But we all believe that, especially after having so many other experiences with the ghost, that it was probably the ghost. I have nothing but positive memories of living in that house. And now as an adult, I understand why people don't believe in ghosts. I think otherwise I'm a very skeptical person, and had I not had these experiences, I probably wouldn't believe in ghosts. But as a little kid, it was actually strange to me when other people didn't believe in ghosts, because it had always just been matter-of-factly explained to me by my parents that there was a ghost that lived in the house, and she was probably a girl who used to live here, and she didn't want to hurt us, but let us know if anything super weird happens to you. And we just continued to live our lives. If anything, it makes me a little bit concerned that there could have been an energy or a spirit that was trapped in that house because of something that happened to them there. And I would really hope that's not the case. I would hope that any energy that is in that house is there of its own choice and is at peace. My mom and my sister a couple years ago did take a trip to the UK, and they visited the house. And of course they only saw the outside of it because there was somebody else living there now, but that's something that I would love to do within my lifetime is to be able to go back and visit the house or even stay in the house. Maybe I'll buy it. Maybe if I get enough Spotify streams, I can buy the house back. Thank you to West Coast Radio for letting me tell my story, and thank you to anyone who listened. And please respect the living and the dead around you.